Sabine here, the storytelling dame from Germany. So, what is a Saturday life all about? Well, every Saturday I go live. Picture that, right? But no, joke aside, I am doing this because I just finished my book, my memoir, and that brought up the question, how can we leave a legacy? And that's what I would like to talk about today with you, how you can leave a legacy. And it doesn't necessarily has to be through a book. I mean, we have many different ways to leave a legacy. If you are a parent, you already left a legacy within your children. Or if you have some expertise and you share it through a course, or you are speaking on stage, or maybe you want to speak on stage, all these outlets are your opportunity to leave a legacy. Because I truly believe we all came to this planet, to this earth, to, yeah, do something special. We all are unique. You are unique. And the best thing about that, you may think, well, I'm not unique. I say, yes, you are. Because the combination of everything that you have lived so far, your experiences, your skills, the way you talk, the way you smile, the way you relate to people, the way you communicate, it is unique to you. And that combination cannot be duplicated. And when you think about that, that makes you very special. And I bet you have something that you can share with the world. And even if you would only touch one person, it would be worth your while. And that's when I realized, when I started that writing process, I started looking at books that I've read and the impact people had on my life, starting with my teacher, who instilled in me the joy of music and acting. But then later in life, so many wonderful people made an impact in my life, and I bet in yours too. Maybe not the same people that made an impact in my life, but some book that you read, some podcast that you listened to, or a YouTube video that you saw, or even a movie. So I wanted to just put this out there because not necessarily to highlight the people that made an impact. And of course, I want to do this too, and maybe give you some ideas of some materials. But most importantly is that you realize that you could be that person. So in my book, GUMPTION, I had that acknowledgement at the end. And I want to just read a little bit for you. This journey of writing my memoir has been incredible. At first, it was scary, but the more I got into the process, the more exciting it became. As I gather the books I have read over the years, I go back down memory lane. It reminds me of how many people contributed to my growth. Many of those authors and people have already transitioned. Although they are no longer with us on the physical plane, their writings still impact lives today. And books are one way to leave a lasting legacy. And I hope my book will join those who left this and who've touched lives now and beyond. And specifically, those people that I personally knew, like my teacher. My gratitude really goes out to all the teachers and mentors who have already made their transition and left a lasting impression, not just for me, but for so many others. Now think about that. That is really the ripple effect. Because of the people that I met in my life, I was able to create something. I created a business. I had a performing arts school that I helmed for 27 years. I created music. I created books. All of that is a combination from those things that I've learned from other people. So my question to you is, was there somebody in your life, a mentor or a book that made a great impact? I would love to hear it. Put it in the comments. And so one of those was, that was pretty early on in my journey when I met the great Zig Ziglar. He has passed a long time ago, but so often one of his famous quotes has been repeated again and again and again. And that was, if you help enough people to get what they want, you'll get what you want. Think about that. If you share something that you know, your expertise, a skill that you have, and you share it with other people who could benefit from it, and when you are doing this, sometimes we give away free stuff, which is great too. But eventually, you also have to put food on the table for you and your family, right? So it's just an exchange of service. And we get an exchange. Right now, it's money. Who knows what it's going to be in the future? Maybe Bitcoin. I don't know. But what I'm saying is there is an exchange. You go to the grocery store, you buy your milk, and you give the grocery store your money. And the grocery store gave some money to the farmer who gave them the milk. You see what I'm saying? So that is what he meant. And if you have that skill, and I have some courses, I do private coaching and group coaching, many different things, I get compensated for that. And when he said, the more people you help, you get what you want. And so if I have a course on health and I teach them a valuable lesson, how they could lose weight, for example, I don't have that course, I'm just saying it as an example, then they pay you for that piece of advice. Or in my case, I was an actress and director for many years. Then I taught, and I taught lessons, and I got compensated for that. So people paid me to teach them something. Or now I have a course, the Confident Speaker Accelerator. So I put all my experience and expertise into creating that. And if someone could really benefit from it because they wanted to be more confident in their presentations, they want to learn presentation skills, or they even want to become a paid public speaker. So that's what they want. And I give it to them, and they give something in return. What I want, and that is, in this case, compensation. So I can go to the grocery store and buy milk, right? Of course, I'm simplifying this, but that's basically the principle. And this is the great Zig Ziglar, whom I met personally in Richmond, Virginia, at one of his last in-person motivational talks. When he signed my copy of his book, Over the Top, I even sang for him one of my first songs I wrote after reading his book. It was a wonderful moment. I had almost forgotten. But because I was writing my memoirs, I went back in time to see who helped me along the way. Of course, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, is one of those, already passed a long time ago. But his writing, his gatherings of of course, his writing, but he gathered all of that information that he put into a book by interviewing successful people. That's another way, right? How to create something. It doesn't necessarily has to be with your own experience or from your own experience, but you are a gatherer, you are a reporter, reporting and interviewing other people. That's also another great way to do a podcast. And I don't know if you listened to one of my podcasts, I interviewed Sheila Slick, and she told us that she started her podcast because she wanted to interview people. And how great of an idea. Not necessarily sharing your experience or expertise or skills, but just interviewing other people that share their experience and skills. What a concept. Of course, the other one, Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And then my favorite, Dr. Wayne Dyer. His books, audio recordings, interviews, and PBS appearances have had a significant impact on my life. Not only did I read many of his books, but they also inspired me to write a song. That a phrase that he just mentioned after an interview, always face the sun. And I turned it into a song. I don't know if I have that up yet, but if so, I will share the link. If not, just stay tuned. I'm sure I will bring this into realization or to the public eye at one point or another. So many people who already left this planet. But then there are others that I met throughout my career. And one of them was Sam Beckford. He created Successful Studio Strategies. So I attended his event and became one of his inner circle masterminds. And that's when I realized we need a mentor. We need to be in a community that can serve us at that point in time where we are. Back then, I had my studio, my performing arts school, which was Eminent Studio of the Performing Arts. So that's why I oftentimes relate or say studio, right? Okay. Now, in that time, I wanted to grow my business. And he came into my life. Back then, it was through postcards, through mail. That ship has sailed. Well, I still sometimes get those, but of course now everything is online and we always have to stay up, which is a total other topic, because I'm also very much into how can we stay relevant? How can we get our message out? And AI is a big part of it. And we cannot shut our eyes or ears for that new technology. That would be the same thing if you would have said something when first the internet came into existence, right? A website? No, I don't need a website. Or a landing page. What is that even, right? So we always have to stay relevant. And that's part of what I incorporate into my training in my group. I have a group called a Vibrant Voices Network, and we stay together, we collaborate, and I go in every single week and teach something to stay relevant, to move forwards in our forward. No, not forward. Forward. Oh, English. Sometimes those little differences, it always cracks me up. Anyways, so forward in our business. And that is the secret of how we stay not only up to date, but also become more seen, more heard, and develop and rise as the authority. So that is super important. And then, of course, with that, you leave an even greater impact. Just yesterday, I had a conversation with Alan C. Paul. I interviewed him for my podcast, and I'll put the link in the show notes as well. And we talked about books. He wrote a book. Of course, he wrote a couple books. I wrote a couple of books. And then the latest that is now ready for pre-order, GUMPTION. I told him that this time, this book is a little bit different because there's so much information and wisdom that I accumulated over the years. And even the things that I've learned from my mentors that I then incorporated in my frameworks and made it my own and incorporated into something that was there. But because of I have that information, it rises what you bring out. Which, by the way, for the longest time, I had a hard time doing this. I always thought, oh my God, I have to come up with something totally, absolutely brand new that has never been talked about, that has never been experienced. It doesn't exist. You make it something new, but you always, always include the things that you've learned in school, in college, in business, in your own business, in courses, in conventions that you attended, everything, books that you read, everything. But that, it's almost like a fusion becomes something new. And that's what I'm talking about. And so back to my conversation that I had with Alan, I talked about, this time I want to get this on the USA Today bestseller list, New York bestseller list, whatever else is out there. I think that's right now one of the big ones. I am already an international Amazon bestseller, number one bestseller, with my last book, Become Empowered, which was an anthology of different stories. And that's great. But this time, I wanted to go even one step further because it is not easy to get on those best-selling lists. You have to sold thousands of books. Now, and then I further said to Ellen, it really is not for me to say, hey, I'm on a bestseller list, right? Even though, it feels good, let's be honest, right? But what I said is, I know that I touched thousands of lives because people who read my book also read the wisdom and read my framework and hopefully were touched by something. And even if it's just one thing they found or had an aha moment or something that moved them forward, I already accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. And that's why I'm so adamant to make this a bestseller, because then I know. And going back to Zig Ziglar's quote, if you help enough people what they want, you get what you want. And that is also, of course, sales. Hopefully, by that point, I have offset the investment that I did in this book. Because that's another thing. Oftentimes, people think, I just can do everything on my own, and I will be the instant overnight success and make a gazillion dollars of money or whatever currency in whatever country you live in. And maybe once in a blue moon, there is that very lucky person at the right time, at the right place, and was just like super, super lucky. But if we are honest to each other, it takes time, skills, patience, and if you want to speed that up, it still takes a little time because you still have to do something. There is no such thing, something for nothing. But when you have a mentor, when you have something, a program, a how to, whatever it may be, you get where you want to go faster. When I joined the inner circle of the Successful Studio Strategies, I increased the income of my business. We get 112 new students that year that I just started implementing his strategies. And that's it. This is as simple as it is. Now, he gave the strategies. I still had to implement it. But if I wouldn't have had the strategies, I wouldn't have implemented it, I still would be at the same amount of students and income that I had because I did the same thing over and over again. That's what I'm talking about, right? So, and here's another thing. If you are at the point in your life, maybe you want to get your message out more quickly, or you want to become even a paid speaker. First of all, if you want to get your message out quickly, you need to learn how to speak. And you also need to learn how to speak in a way that gets you the sales. Because there is a little bit of a strategy behind it without being pushy. I hate that. I don't like to be pushy. I like to offer you what I have and what I created to help you. But if it's not for you, it's okay. And if you're not ready, it's okay. Right? Which is another little clue. Many years back, I felt so, oh, I have to make a sale. Oh, I need this. I need this. Total wrong approach. You don't. You don't. You got to. That's a big difference. And when you have that mind shift, the mindset shift, here we go. When you have that mindset shift, it changes everything. You attract the people rather than feeling needy and repel your potential clients. So with that said, I have seen so many people who have great ideas, who are experts, and they have to be out in the spotlight, how I say it, right? So people know about you. But so many talented entrepreneurs are being silent. They are not seen. And even though right now it's so much more easier to become a coach, a speaker, and with the World Wide Web, right? You don't have to do all the hard things we had to do 20, 30 years ago. But at the same time, if something is easier, more people flock together to do this. That means it's also harder to stand out from the crowd, right? And we need to elevate you. And that means you need to be seen. And so the other day I was at a studio, state-of-the-art broadcast studio, to record some of my new content. And then it hit me. I said, oh my gosh, that's what's needed for many, many people. They need a very good quality video of their talk or part of their talk. It doesn't have to be a 30-minute talk. 5 minutes is plenty for a potential event coordinator to see who you are and what you talk about, what you are speaking about. And then I thought, wow, this is so brilliant. And this is what I teach. I teach my clients how to create their signature talk. But that's not enough. You have your talk, but there's still a missing link. And I saw that so clearly. So I put something together I'm very excited about. It's kind of a done for you event. It's an experience for you to get everything done your signature talk, your recording, your professional recording and editing that you can then put on your website. If you don't have a website, you don't even need to do that. Just put it on YouTube and have a link to it. But here's the thing. Sometimes people think, oh my God, well, yeah, I have that recording. And yes, we can always improve. You start somewhere. But what if you can improve it in a way that looks so professional? And that is what you send the event coordinator to hire you as a speaker. Even though if it's not paid, but if you have a program that you want to sell, speaking in front of people is the best sales opportunity. Even if you're not allowed to sell on stage, but there is a little, very legit, quote unquote, trick how you can get people into your universe if they want to learn more and eventually work with you. So speaking, from my personal experience, is one of the best things. Now, going back to leaving a legacy. If you are being seen as the authority, meaning you have professional reel with a recording of your talk, you have professional photography, and you have a professional one sheet, you already set yourself apart and already go into the fast lane. And that is what I put together. Okay, I call it the one-day studio experience that will help you do that, have all of that, because it's a done for you experience. And I put the link in the description, in the show notes, so you can click on it and see if this is something for you. So if you see this today in this live recording, I have a special fast mover offer that saves a significant amount of money. I'm not going into all of that. You can read it yourself, but click on it. And even if you missed this part, what you get is still a super, super deal. Because when you start thinking about, if you gather everything together, you are hiring a videographer, then you have to go into a studio or you rent a stage where you can be filmed at, and then you have to make sure you get your photographer there. And you pay for that. And then you have to get someone who edit this all together, so a professional editor. And oh yeah, and then how do I create my one sheet? Yeah, I think I can maybe put it together myself. I'm just looking up and online. Well, first of all, there are a lot of steps, a lot of people that you need to contact, a lot of people that you have to pay. If you get a videographer to work with you for a day, it's like $1,600. A photographer, 1,000. Maybe if you get a cheap one, 500. But then you still have to pay for the images. You know how much that is? I have recently done a professional video shoot, and yeah, you get like 3 images for $1,000. And yeah, that doesn't cut it. So I wanted to do better. I give all of this to you, all, because I know I've been there and I know how frustrating it is. But I also know I do need to invest something for me. And let me tell you, I have invested quite a bit of time and money. And I think the biggest not the biggest investment, but for this, what I just shared with you, where I got someone to produce my one sheet, for me to learn my signature talk, for me to be listed on their website or in their quote unquote agency that doesn't exist anymore. Um, I paid $17,000 for that, just so that you know. I do know what I'm talking about, and I do know how expensive it can get. And I don't want that, especially for someone who is starting out and doesn't have the funds. We do have to invest something. There's no doubt about it. And if you think I can do all of it on your own, best to you. Best of luck to you. And I truly wish you the best. And then we obviously not the right match because you have the way you do things, or maybe you have a mentor, or maybe you have people that can do it for you for free. And then that is luck. But for most of us, we do have to invest in something. And when I all this acknowledgement that I shared at the end of my book, I started with Sam Beckford, Darren Hardy, of course, Jack Canfield. I read many of his books, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Mark Victor Hansen. I was even in one of his events in California when I just started my author journey. That was before I wrote my first book. So and then, of course, how can I forget the Millionaire Messenger, Brandon Burchard, so many wonderful mentors. And I attended many of Brandon's events, $2,000, another $2,000, and another $3,000. I mean, this is just the going rate. And putting this all together, all these mentors, all these experiences, buying a course, going to a convention, got me where I am today. If I wouldn't have invested into myself, I wouldn't be here. And now I am so grateful that I am able to pass on everything that I've learned in my own way. And this book is not just frameworks or how to. No, it's more than that. It helps. I'm sharing stories that are fun to read, but it also helps you to understand the point that I'm making. So if you want to have this book, which is available at bookstores in August, that's when the official bookstore launch is. But if you want to pre-order it and send me your receipt, just a screenshot, whatever, then I'll give you an advanced reader's copy. I get you to the link where you can download the e-version so you can read it. And again, the opportunity to be on this Saturday live broadcast, my show, that can give you some exposure if you want to talk about a framework, if you want to talk about something that touched you in that book. And it always goes both ways. You are featured here as well. All right, that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about today. All the links, all the reference that I talked about today, you will see in the description, in the show notes. And I can't wait to hear from you. And even if you watch that as a replay, please feel free to comment, ask questions. I will answer it. I promise. Until the next time, always remember, serve from the heart, follow your passion, and live the life you imagine.